Read it fully.
And then
if you leave it out,
and if he has divorced her, then she is not lawful to him after that until she has wedded another husband. So triple talaq, the idea is you're divorced twice. Now if you need to marry the guy again, you need to be married to someone else before that. That's the Quran.
No, okay. It doesn't say if
you can clarify once I finish. Yeah?
That is a plan.
Islamic Allah, the Quran thinks you can get back to the husband, the first husband. But let me read to you what Yahweh of the Bible thinks.
Can I say something?
You can once I finish.
Okay,
and then I'll
how
let
long
you
it takes you to? Okay.
Just 1.5 more minutes.
Okay.
So what does Yahweh of the Bible think? Let me read to you again. If a man divorces his wife and she goes from him and becomes another man's, may he return to her again? Rhetorically, he's asking, may he return to her again?
Yeah.
Would not that land be greatly polluted? So Yahweh of the Bible thinks the moment you leave, you can't come back. It's a one-way street. That's Yahweh of the Bible.
Which means divorce clearly, eternally.
No, one second. Clearly contradictory to the Torah.
Which is divorce eternally. Are you saying this?
One second. Clearly contradictory to the Sharia as given in the Quran. The question to you is there is I can see only one way to reconcile these two, and that is by saying clearly Yahweh of the Torah is completely opposite in character to Islamic Allah of the Quran. Completely. I'm not even talking about. Excuse me, sir.
I think I got the point.
Excuse me, sir. He's the expert here. Are you the expert?
I got your point.
The point is.
I got your point. I got your point.
One last clarification. I'm not even saying they are different slightly. I'm saying they are polar opposites. Explain how else, if not for the fact that they are different, how would you explain this, please?
Okay. Now this is another problem. Can I, with the question, I will respond in the same way to you. Now, in the Old Testament, Yahweh of the Old Testament is saying to the people, to the Jews, that when the divorce is one go, there is no way to return. That's it. So divorce for eternal. So this one, and then we have another saying in the same Bible which you are holding, which is the Jesus of the New Testament is saying, no, you cannot divorce at all. Now here. Can't you see there is, again, contradiction between this and this? Can you see that?
Absolutely.
Can you see this? Can you see there is, someone is saying, you can divorce, but if you divorce, that's it, it's eternal, you cannot come back. And the other side is saying, you cannot divorce. Now the question is Yahweh in the Old Testament, is he Jesus?
So are you
so that's the first question.
Am I not?
Yeah. So just want to know. Just want to clarify for me. That's called. This is called.
No, let the lady.
Listen.
Let the lady listen.
This is called clarification. Do you believe Jesus in the Old Testament is the same as Yahweh yourself?
Is this my turn?
Just clarification.
No. You finish your point.
That's
and then
clarification.
I'll clarify. You can have your questions. I'll answer together.
He's God in the Old Testament. Okay. So if Jesus in the Old Testament is the same one who's commanding his people, if you divorce, there is a divorce, but you cannot do it. Why Jesus changed his mind, as you said, because you changed his mind. Why he changed his mind in the New Testament, saying to him, no, you cannot divorce at all. How is that? Don't you say again that it's not just only against each other. You're talking about someone in the east and someone in the west. Now here, this is the question to you, and then we'll come back to my point. Now it's your turn.
It's my turn?
Yes.
No? Thank you. Thank you very much. So the main point you really need to know, which you should also note, by the way, you're expert, by the way, hasn't answered a simple question I raised, which is Islamic Allah doesn't seem to be the same as Yahweh of the Bible, and they seem to be polar opposites in moral character. He hasn't answered that particular challenge I raised. That's fine. No, wait a second, Ray. Okay. So you need to know that he hasn't answered.
But you haven't answered anything either.
I'm going to answer now.
Okay, answer me.
I just wanted.
Okay, answer me, and then
we would give your expert any number of chances.
Point by point.
Let us see if he ever answers the question. Now he asked me a question. And his question was, New Testament apparently says you can't divorce at all, and therefore to him that's contradictory to the Old Testament, and that is where he thinks that the New Testament God is not the same as the Old Testament God. That is his logical argument. Fundamentally, his argument is fallacious, number one, and it's incorrect in the verse
He didn't make an argument.
Excuse me, Hashim, we don't need your comment.
No problem.
We don't need your comment every now and then. Fallacious, and then you've made incorrect statements there. Number one, just so you know, the New Testament doesn't say no divorce at all. The New Testament says, oh yeah, ask your expert now.
Okay,
the New Testament
now
says,
I'm just wondering, where did you get this
if
from?
you don't know, don't make a point.
Only
Why do you make a point which you don't know and then wonder?
Continue.
So, what does the New Testament say? The New Testament says, a man is not allowed to divorce unless there is sexual immorality involved. So,
which is
does
adultery.
the New Testament allow divorce? Yes, it does.
Only in adultery. Is that right?
We do not need your running commentary, Hashim. We don't need.
We don't need your
expert is here.
No, we don't need. You're the expert in the Bible.
I am.
Okay.
For
so
you,
be honest. Be honest and
Okay.
sincere.
So you don't need to comment every now and then. Now, by all means, you can. But when it's your turn,
Be sincere.
So my point is this. So he incorrectly quoted the Bible. Number one. Number two. Note the point carefully. You claim it's a contradiction between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and I'd like to tell you it's clearly not a contradiction. You have understood a meaning of contradiction incorrectly. This is the point. Now let him listen to my argument.
Yeah, okay.
When did I say stop listening? Can you stop being so uptight all the time, please? Relax. I know you're sweating.
Calm down.
Relax, man. Relax.
You need to calm down. You need to calm down, yeah?
Calm down, yeah. Please.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
One thing at a time, then.
Please.
Yeah, I'm listening.
The point is this simple, my dear friend. God of the Old Testament does not want promiscuous sexual relationship. He does not want it. He doesn't allow it. That is the underlying point. And how does he enforce that in the Old Testament? Jeremiah, the verse that I read, exactly lays out that principle. The point is, if you are allowed to be married to one person and then go marry some other person and then come back to the same person, what that would lead to is basically a disrespect for the institution of marriage. Because you can go anywhere on. I'm just unhappy with him today. I'd like to sleep with him today. I'd go there and then come back to him. I won't lose him anyway. That's the idea. Now,
Can we try?
You said 1.5 minutes. This has been 4 minutes already.
Can we try? No, I'm not stopping you. I'm not stopping you. Can we use better terms, because we have sisters here around, and instead of sleeping, you could say having sexual intercourse, something like that. Try to use.
Don't worry about this. This is England. We are using reasonably sensible language.
Yeah, because the guy was shouting from behind.
So England has morals
I
too.
don't know what others said. The language I used is very, very conservative. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So let's go back to my point. God
So you're
of the
not
Bible,
listening to the advice.
God
Okay,
of the
no
Bible
problem.
does not like promiscuous relationship, and that is what he says in the Old Testament. When Jeremiah says, "How can you leave your husband and then come back to him? Would that land be greatly polluted?" That's the point he expressed, and that is the same point Jesus expresses, except in an even more rigid way, which is you can't even go unless there is a sexual immorality. Don't go. If you have differences of opinion, work it out. Now, consider this: Old Testament, New Testament, same principle. Same principle, and then comes along Quran.
No, it's not the same principle.
Now,
No, it's not the same principle.
Now comes back. No, 1 second, please. Now comes the Quran. Quran goes against this principle by saying, if you want to marry him again, go to another man and then come back. That is what I call exact polar opposite and contradiction.
Okay,
in other words, please explain to me how Islamic Allah and the Yahweh of Torah could be the same God when obviously their commandments are polar opposites. And I've answered your question. The God of the Old Testament is the same as the God of the New Testament. Same principle. Please go on.
Okay. Now, since my turn, yeah? Okay, that's good. At least I have the chance to
You are the
speak now.
expert, apparently.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's Islamic side. That's what I'm planning to say to you. Now, going back to the same point that you say. Again, I will answer. By the way, I'm not running away from the answer. For us, we never claim, Muslims, we never claim that Allah is Yahweh. We never claim this.
Good.
Yeah, we never claim this. For you to know.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
Excellent.
We never claim this.
Absolutely.
And
Very
as
good.
well. Yeah, of course.
Very good. Thank you.
I don't need to do a high
We are
five.
agreeing on that, so thank you. Yeah,
You
go
don't
on.
need to comment as well.
We don't need your comment.
We don't need your comment. Yeah, we don't need your comment.
Practice what you preach.
You're the only one doing it.
That's nothing. For us, Allah.
It's part of you guys.
Go on.
Now for us, Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah mentioned us in the Quran. Allah mentioned us in the Quran about His name. And He named Himself Tabaraka wa Ta'ala as Allah. And He named Himself as will reveal on the tongue of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, on the Quran or on the tongue of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah has 99 names of the ones we are aware of nowadays. None of them is Yahweh. And for us, yeah, very good, yeah, very good. I'm just helping you. I'm aiding you. I'm aiding you. If that, yeah, I'm aiding you. If that helps you, it doesn't matter for me, because for me, I'm not someone who's hiding behind my thumb. Now going back. Now when I say to you that Allah, we never claim Allah is Yahweh, because for us, for us, how we deal with the Bible, how we deal with the Old Testament or with the New Testament, we deal with them as they are. There are hands being touched to them, meaning the hand of the people changed, and removed, and added, and taken. So these things for us, our Prophet ﷺ, he said, we don't believe it totally. The Quran, the Bible that you have, we don't believe everything that it has. We don't believe even the names that you use, except the ones which Allah has confirmed in the Quran. Those are the ones for us are the truth. Of Allah, for example, we believe in Dawood alayhi salam as a prophet because Allah has named him. His name is Dawood alayhi salam, and that's how we name him. So the same thing, Allah's names in the Quran, those are the ones. Now, if that helps you. Now going back to the point, again, you're saying in the Old Testament here we have a statement of Jesus, as you claim, which he was named Yahweh and then he changed his name to be Jesus. So he was saying in the Old Testament, yeah, that you cannot divorce. Simple as that. You cannot divorce. He said in the Old Testament that you can divorce. That is permissible. So he permits the people to divorce, but there is no going back. There is no going back. It's simple as
no remarrying. Yeah.
There's no remarrying. Yeah. Here, that's a statement. And another statement to say you cannot divorce except in one case, which is adultery. Now the question is, if a man, his wife is not adulteress, she's not adulteress, she didn't commit any sin, any mistake, yeah, but he keep torturing her, beating her, abusive person. He is so evil person with her. In Christianity, is there a way out? No. Is there a way out? It must be you, because maybe you do it. Maybe you do it. Because you're a criminal.
Serious matter.
A criminal like you. A criminal like you. Yes.
Oh, let him go on.
Yeah, a criminal like you, a criminal like this.
Go on.
So here the question is, in Christianity, is there a way out? Islam allowed the divorce, simple as that. Yes. Now, and for you to know, I will add to your information as well. So there are things in Islam, that things which was mentioned in the, for example, which was done by the people of the book before Islam, and Islam accepted it and kept it as it is. Because, for example, fasting Ashura, tomorrow is Ashura. The Prophet ﷺ, when he came to Medina, that the Jews used to fast this day. And then the Prophet ﷺ, and the Ashura, the day, the Muslims, the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded the Sahaba, the companions, to fast it, the day. So it is, but directing it, the fasting in the way how the Muslims are fasting. That's one thing. That's for you to. And sometimes as well, Islam as well abrogated certain commandments from the old scripture, abrogated it to be an Islamic ones. For example, eating the camel is prohibited in the Jews, amongst the Jews. It is prohibited in the Old Testament. Yeah, and it is mentioned clearly in the Old Testament that you cannot eat the ones with the camels meat.
And circumcision.
No, and as well, for example, let alone the circumcision. Okay. Yeah, the camel's meat. So Islam came and abrogated this ruling, because every prophet when he comes, he has had there are Sharia, which is the ruling of the time that he has. So that's one of the things. One of them as well, the divorce. In the pre-Islamic time, it could be that the case, if someone divorces his wife, it is done. It is eternally. You cannot return the wife back again. But by the way, for you to know, to understand the logic, of the Quran, or the wisdom of the Quran, how the Quran deals with the thing. When there is a statement, if you read it clearly, how it says, yeah, if you read it, what it says that, simple as that, Allah is not directing the people to divorce 3 times. It doesn't mean you have to divorce your wife 3 times, and then after that she has to remarry again, and then after that. It's not like that. That's the meaning of it. That here the prohibition that they cannot come back to their husbands. So that's a different statement. If she's divorced 3 times, you cannot come back to their husband. Simple as that. I'm finishing. So you cannot come back to your husband. Allah is saying this, you cannot come back to your husband at all. So here it is exactly following, you could say, for example, the teaching which was there. But Allah Azza wa Jalla has made the way out. Except in one case, exactly that you said. You said, for example, in the New Testament, there is only one case that the person will divorce his wife, is the case when she is adulterous. It doesn't mean, do you know what it means? It doesn't mean adultery is allowed. It doesn't mean this. It doesn't mean, oh, I wanted to divorce my husband, or let me commit adultery. Yeah, it doesn't mean this. Do you understand the point? It doesn't mean in the Bible, for example, even though with all my respect to yourself, yeah? Now, when you read the Bible doesn't tell the people to commit adultery. Yes? Yeah?
So are you done?
No, I'm just finishing the point. Try to focus what I'm saying. The Bible doesn't tell the people to commit adultery. Yes? And that's why here, but for the divorce case, here you have only one way to divorce is if I commit sexual intercourse or adultery. Now the question is exactly the same thing. Is this what he's talking about, the halal? Is the Bible telling me the only way out of this divorce is adultery? Is this what you are claiming? So that's what it means. That's what it means, the direct meaning. So here in Islam, in Islam, it doesn't say that. It's the same thing as adultery is prohibited in Christianity, for example. The halala is prohibited in Islam. How? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, لعن الله المحلل والمحلل له.
Curse is the one.
May Allah curse the one who's doing the halala. May Allah curse the one who's doing the halala and the one who's halala being done too. So the Prophet sallallahu he cursed those ones who are involved in halala. So here, what it means, meaning if a woman, she divorced 3 times, that means that's not going to work. So she married another husband, and then she waited for him until Allah, God knows. So after all this time, he dies. He may be the one of them. And then they divorce.
Then he is an answer.
I'm just giving you the answer. So the audience,
this is the main point.
if you are not getting my point, as is the same as the Bible doesn't indicate the people to commit adultery, is exactly Islam doesn't indicate to the women to do halal. Is that clear? Is that clear to you?
Clear like the crystal. Can I please respond now?
Yeah.
I hope it's
Thank
clear.
you. Thank you.
Are you being sarcastic?
Thank you.
Or you actually understood it?
Thank you.
What do you? Can you
I see a big question mark on your face.
Wow.
Can you please?
I see a big question mark on your face.
Can I ask you a question?
No, you've asked many questions.
No. I wanted you, if you answered me, can you please repeat what you answered?
Yeah.
So repeat what you understood. So at least we are on the same platform.
I think he's got a question mark on his face.
If you could repeat what you understood from me, or I could explain it again.
You would see in my response, you would see how I have understood yours. So don't worry about that. Yeah. So let me respond to all. You have raised many points there. Let me begin. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for agreeing that Yahweh of the Bible is not the same. One second. Thank you for agreeing. Yeah. So now that is very true, Raj. I'm with you on that. That's a very true point. That's a serious concern we need to deal with now.
He has time for Raj. But when I say about the topic, it is enough time. That's the double standards we have to deal with, unfortunately.
Coming to you, my dear friend, coming to you. I really appreciate you agreeing on camera that Yahweh of the Bible is not the same as Allah of the Quran. If you can take just one more step and go around, talk to your dawah teams to remove all material which says Muhammad, Moses, Jesus, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, as if they're all talking about the same God. If you go take that material out of circulation, there'll be a material benefit to all of us. We agree on that? You agree on that? You are apparently an expert here.
That means you didn't understand.
Exactly.
One second.
That means you didn't understand.
If you speak,
I said we don't.
I don't think comparing
said about the name.
My dear friend, I let you speak.
No, but you're lying about me now. I didn't say
Yes,
that.
exactly.
I'm not lying. This is a recommendation.
No, I
Let me
need
finish.
recommendation
Let me
for
finish.
people
and
to
then-
understand.
Let me finish, and then you can tell me
Okay.
that I'm a liar and all this.
By the way, he answered your main question. Did you understand that or not?
Hashim, thank you very much. If you have any doubt, you can ask him later. I have
I'm
understood.
asking you
I'm
because
all
have
right
you
with this.
understood it?
I can move
I
on.
think
Thank
this is
you.
understood.
Let's see if you understood it.
Please, thank you. Now, going back. So thank you very much. Please go and speak.
He'll keep repeating himself now.
Please speak to
He
the
likes
audience.
that.
Take this
He likes that.
away. Now,
Maybe it's because he forgets. He likes repeating it.
point number 2, which is, I can also tell you, by the way, I'm quite glad that you agreed.
See, I repeat
the
again.
law still is contrary to each other. Torah is polar opposite of Sharia, regardless
And
of
the
the
New
reason you
Testament.
give. Regardless of the
And the New
reason you
Testament.
give, it is still polar opposite, regardless of the reason. I don't care what
No
the
baby
reason
killings,
is.
you're right, in
If
the Quran.
Yahweh
Absolutely.
of the Bible
Polar
does
opposite.
not like it, he can't suddenly change his mind and say, I quite like, this is the way I like things to be. So,
Okay, good.
point number
That
2.
helps me actually.
Contradictory to all those who are listening, Allah of the Quran is polar.
Yes.
Islamic Allah of the Quran is polar.
He never comes out to
opposite
kill babies.
of
Absolutely
Yahweh,
right. Unlike the Bible.
to Yahweh of the Bible. Now, there is only one suggestion. Everyone,
He disagrees with you.
there is,
The old man disagrees with you.
That's why I said Islamic Allah.
Islamic Allah?
The point is